Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden and welcome to day 13 in my Holidays in the Garden series. I brought Hermione the bunny out to keep me some company while I got some garden cleanup done in the backyard. I have to be honest, I did not want to come out and do this today. It was raining earlier this morning and so it was wet and cold, but as soon as I got out here and I started working, I was so happy to be out in the garden. I was so happy to be outside. I was so happy to be with nature, and I'm so glad that I did this today. I started my garden cleanup on the east side of my garden today. Whenever I do cleanup, whether it's outside in the garden or inside, I always like to pick one starting spot and then go kind of in a circle, kind of in a organized manner, so I don't find myself going from one end of the yard to the other end of the yard and then back. It just kind of keeps me on track and keeps me knowing what I need to do next. So I started off with getting rid of this purple rain tomato that I grew from seed this year. It really wasn't a great performer for me, possibly because I had it in that pot right there, but I don't think it's one that I will repeat. Then I came over here to my boba hydrangea bed and I took out all my Supertunia Royal Velvets. Those did really good, those Supertunias, but they were done for the season. They were ready to come out and it felt good to just easily and quickly pull them out. So then I started picking up a couple of the weeds that I have in this pathway right here. I was actually talking to someone about helping me replace these stepping stones. I want to replace these square stepping stones with the circle ones that I have in my front yard. I want to get that done before my May Pence Gallery garden tour to make it easier for people to walk out this way. And the person who's going to be helping me is actually coming over later today to take a peek. So I'm glad that I got some of those weeds out. I think it'll look better. After that, I got started on these honeysuckle that I have over on my trellis over here. Every once in a while, I have to come out and I have to trim off the really long tendrils that get caught in the fence and caught in the other plants that are growing around it. These are relatively new compared to the other ones on the other side of my garden on the north-facing fence. So these are still pretty fresh and they don't have a lot of dead on the inside, so it's pretty easy to prune them. After I finished pruning these honeysuckle, I started addressing some of the leaves on the lawn. The oak tree that I have over this whole area still actually has not lost all its leaves. It's mid-December and we just haven't had a lot of wind this year, so the leaves just kind of really haven't come down yet, and I know they're coming. It could be any day. This weekend we're supposed to have kind of a big storm with some wind, so I have a feeling I'll be doing a lot of leaf cleanup at that time. So I wasn't trying to be too perfect with this. I was just trying to get some of the leaves off the lawn just so there wouldn't be any leaf mold or anything like that. After cleaning up the lawn a little bit, I actually turned my attention to my storm cloud agapanthus, and I thought I was recording, but of course I wasn't recording. I deadheaded the bloom stalks down at the base, and then this is actually an evergreen agapanthus, so I really don't have to cut it back if I don't want to. All I did is I cut off the dead leaves, really. I just pulled them off and it was pretty easy. Then I turned my attention to this Solomon seal right here. You do not have to cut back Solomon seal. It will usually just die back. The leaves will all die off, and it's actually good to leave the leaves there. However, if there's still stems, you can always cut the stems off. After that, I continued on my circular path to these 3 white planters I have. These planters are from MPG Planters. I got them from Lowe's. I wish I could get more of them. I wish I could find more of them, but they're actually pretty hard to find. MPG Planters is a wholesale company, so they'll only sell to other companies, and that's how you can get them. But I just love them. They're so beautiful. They're not that expensive, and so far they're holding up really, really well. So I first cleaned up some annuals in the bottom of these planters that I have underplanted, and then I started trimming this Texas privet. And I did check the weather. We don't have any freeze, we don't have any frost. It looks like we don't have any frost, but even if we do, I think that this Texas privet would be fine, because when I prune this, I prune the stems. I don't actually prune the leaves. I don't actually cut the leaves. And so it's a pretty hardy plant in my area. I'm not too worried about it when I prune it back. So I was just cutting it back a little bit into its topiary ball form. Same thing with this juniper spiral, just kind of trying to trim it back and make it look a little bit cleaner. After that, I turned my attention to my sparkling amethyst superbena I have in this front pot, and this guy, it's time for these sparkling amethysts to come out. I'm sure I could have left it in for another year, but they were looking a little bit leggy. I already did cut them back earlier this 2022 season, and I think I want to replace them with something new this upcoming season. So I decided just to take them all out. And then after that, I just kind of cleaned up the area. And as I was leaning over working here, I noticed how much dead I actually had in these 3 honeysuckle over on this north facing fence that I have. Now, I love honeysuckle. It's such a fantastic plant. However, it will keep growing on itself. And that means that there will keep being dead on the inside of the plant. And if you don't address it by some regular like rejuvenation pruning, it can just get thicker and thicker and thicker and basically be like a thicket on the inside. And so after seeing this, I knew I needed to do something about it. You can see here a little closer up look of what I did. All I did is I cut off the little baby branches, but I left the big, long, old branches that were reaching up to the top. Those little baby branches will sprout again very quickly, and it will be nice and full and flush with leaves again before you know it. So I'm not too worried about this. I'm not worried about it being cold. I think that this honeysuckle really needed it. So after all my pruning, I raked up all the branches and the leaves, and then I swept them up and got rid of as much mess as I could before I got my blower out. As I was walking over to grab my blower, I had to show you guys my Camellia sasanqua pinkaboo is blooming right now, and it looks so incredibly beautiful. I love camellias that they bloom at the time of year when we really don't get a lot of color and not a lot of blooms. And then I had to show you all my neighbor's mock orange tree. I mean, look at these berries. Aren't they crazy? I just thought it was so interesting, and I'm interested to see if the birds start going for it. So before I got the blower out, I thought I would try and get Hermione just so I didn't scare her. But of course, she is such a pain in the you-know-what to try and grab. She just loves being outside and she never wants to go back inside. So it takes me so long to try and get this bunny, to try and get her to go inside. She will not come to me. She will only come to Sadie, my daughter. So I thought I would just leave her. I'm sure she would run to the other side of the yard when I was using my blower. So after a quick walk around the yard with my blower, everything was nice and cleaned up. You could see I only got about halfway around the backyard of my circle that I like to work in, but I'm glad that I got done what I needed to get done. Honestly, I did not even want to come out here and work today, but like I said in the beginning of the video, I feel so much better now that I did. So after I finished blowing, I was finally able to get a hold of the bunny. I'm telling you all, she is the quickest little thing. She is so sweet, but we love her so much. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Stay tuned for day 14 in my Holidays in the Garden series, and I hope you all have a chance to get into your garden today.